Hello. What?
We think we've got chat, no echo. Harinder said it worked perfectly. Between here and Friendly Foods, it works really well.
But for 10 minutes, Swamiji, we tried to fix this echo. Only I realized I had 2 windows open.
Ah, that's why.
That's why we
And Kate actually had called, left a message and said that it worked perfectly for her.
Oh.
And okay. And we have chat. We have what?
A lot happened in 1 hour. In the last 1 hour, several things have happened. Hello there. Home. Several things have happened. Progress.
We think.
See, amazing things happen when you cancel class. Let's see.
will revise.
Let's see. Let us see. Let us survive till the weekend. After that, we'll decide, okay? Yeah. This is going to be a nice class.
Kate's here.
Kate's here? Where?
She's on here.
Oh, okay, yeah.
She can't move yet.
But she went somewhere, no?
Yeah, but only for getting in and out of the car, it's still a little.
Oh, okay. That's what it is. You know? It has to be kept,
Yeah,
stationary.
it's pretty stable.
It's not broken.
I'm not sure what she did to it.
It'll be okay.
Yeah.
Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinnavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. 2, 2, 3. No? Yeah. Urdhvam pranamunnayati. Apanam pratyagasyati. Madhye vamanamasinam. Vishve Deva Upasate. Yeah. Vague verse, without a lot of commentary and explanation, we don't know what is being talked about. First, we have to remind ourselves of the context of this chapter because it's been 2 weeks since we met. So the context would have gone out of this window here, correct? And so the context is what? Puram Ekadashadvaram, this Purusha. Which Purusha? The one that is indwelling this sad, bad, mad little body, mind, sense complex. This Purusha is, what is this Purusha? This Purusha is living in an assemblage. Karya Karana Kalapa, KKK, not to be confused with what the letters actually stood for. Okay? So, Karya Karana Kalapa. Kalapa means an assemblage. Karya, and Karya and all these, cause the body, mind, sense complex. Karya Karana Sanghata, which is an effect. And then it also has all these upakaranas with which to touch, feel and hug the universe. So therefore, this body, mind, sense assemblage is called a Kalapa assemblage. So this assemblage, see, there is a recurrent argument that I don't want us to forget, because this is going to be the strain of this particular adhyaya, this particular valli at least. And what is that? This is the age-old argument. Something is samhata, put together. And I explained this at length when we first started this section. Something is put together. What is put together is not for its own sake. This we have to keep coming back to, because the Upanishad will keep coming back to this. So we must not forget this. So if you if you buy a house, it is for something. It's not for the sake of the house, correct? Yeah. The lungs exist not for the sake of the lungs, correct? Yeah. And so like this, anything that exists, and if it happens to be put together, that means, what does it mean? It means that it is for the sake of something else. So one that is put together, something that is put together, which is a shell, a casing, and then that which occupies the casing, bullet. No, that which, that the word casing, yeah. So, so that which occupies the shell. So even if you take the shell from the seashore, what is that for? That's not for its own sake. It's a home. It's a home for this little creature that is a mollusk, which means it is unable to protect itself, from your feet. Therefore, Bhagavan gave it a nice home. So, anything that is put together is not for the sake of itself, it is for something else's sake. Point 1, I want you to remember. Point 2, that something else for which this has been put together, whether it is this house or this body, whatever we are talking, is separate and unconnected from that. So that which occupies the shell, that which occupies the house, that which occupies the body, this is again, a part of the example, is separate from the body, is separate from the house. Like, the person who occupies the house, you don't say, I house, You're not house. You occupy the house. That means you were elsewhere before, and then you thought this is a nice pad to come and, sit here, and then you sat here as long as it's useful for you, and then the walls started to, drip, the rain, the roof started to drip, the walls started to lose all the plaster, and very soon the bricks and the wood also that was there in between the wall and in between you and the elements also started to peel away. And then what happened? You said, time to pack the bags and go to the next house. Some houses that you have migrated from, life after life, happen to be right next door. So you didn't have to go far with this big, huge bundle of ragadveshas, dragging the ragadveshas behind. You just had to move next door, meaning in the same family you were born. Right? In another body, mind, sense complex. Sometimes you had to go a long way, another loka. You were born as Devata, you were born as Yaksha, Kinnara, Gandharva, so many possibilities, correct? And so therefore, these two things we have to remember. What is point number 1? That that which is put together is not for its own sake, it's always for the sake of another. Point number 2, the another which occupies that which is put together is separate from that which is put together. The another may come and go. The another is not glommed on or stuck to that which is put together. Okay? So if you can take the house, which is a common example, and then the house illustrates what is happening with this body. So the body itself is like a shell, a house. For who? For that most worshipful Purusha. The same thing is being iterated, So the first verse talked about that, the 11 gated house, the 11 gated, room with a view in which you are staying. And, where the whole setup was there, it was a kingdom. And the king which is the Atma here, listens to all the news from the sentries and the spies, which are the eyes and the ears, which go out and gather information. And then what? The defense system, which is like the immune system of the body, is like the defense, the army of this kingdom. And then all this was explained. And then who is occupying it? Ajaha. This belongs to Ajaha. The one that is never born is living in this ramshackle apartment. And then Avakra Chetasaha, the one who is completely, in the form of that light which doesn't undergo any refraction, any change, that light of consciousness which is, complete and whole, that is who we saw in the last verse. And then just so that one doesn't think that, the Atma is only able to occupy one body at a time. What about the other bodies? They are zombies. They are not. They are walking, talking zombies. They are not Atma. Or they are that, what is that called? Some runner, Blade Runner type robots. So they are not Atma. So that one doesn't come into that, the wrong conclusion. The second verse of this Valli talked about all this, where this Sat resides, as it were. Sidati. Sidati iti Sat. And Sat, it exists, therefore it is Sat. So it is there in the sky, in the form of the sun, it is there in the waters, fish, algae, etc. It is there in the mountains, it is there in everything. It is there in the human being. Hamsa Shuchishat, Vasurantariksha Sat, Hota Vedi Sat, Atithir Durona Sat, Drishat, Varasat, Ritasat, Abja, Goja, Ritaja, Adrija, Ritam Mahat. Very beautiful. It's a very meditative verse. It's contemplative actually. So now a little more about this Sat. So now we know two things. One is that this Sat, this Atma, which is free from everything, has a habit of occupying any house that it sees. Any space is not a space at all, because even space is occupied by Atma. Time is occupied by Atma. Time is non-separate from Atma. So this Atma has a bad habit of going and occupying everything that there is. Anything that is there, that is put together, it thinks it's for my sake only. I'm just going here. This is mine. It's all mine. That's why I said, when you see a 2-year-old, you remember Ishvara, because it's all belonging to you. Who else is there? It's all mine. The neighbor's toys, that's also mine. Everything is mine. Nothing is yours. Who are you anyway? You are all. I'm just me. I'm just all that is there is me. So this Atma also occupies everything. In fact, the whole Occupy Wall Street movement was gained from this Atma. Occupy Eugene, Occupy Wall Street, Occupy New York, Occupy DC. All this was gained from Atma. Atma was the first one to occupy everything. Correct? And so here, this again can be confusing, because here you have, even though we read that this is a 11-gated citadel, for a home that I have made for the Atma, and the home for the Atma to express itself. All this I know, correct? But then, sometimes it's forgotten. And when is it forgotten? In the day-to-day Vyavaharika life, it is forgotten. You run to catch a bus, you hyperventilate, you breathe into a paper bag, and then, and then you start thinking that the breathing mechanism is that upon which I depend in order to be alive. This becomes a very, very pervasive Brahma, illusion, delusion. Why? Because I think that as long as I breathe, I am alive. In other words, I am sentient. What's the difference between the table and here? I, in this Laukika sense, I and this table. The table is not respiring. Correct? There is no respiration, there is no perspiration. Therefore, it is inert. This one is respiring. So the respiration is put on a pedestal, and the prana is seen as that which is I. The prana and the I, they have a danger to identify and to glom on together, so much so that it is very difficult to separate. And prana here doesn't mean just the respiration. All the other pranic, here I can use the word, pranic activities are indicated here. And so this thing is, the mantra number 3 is telling us that even with regard to the prana is also, let us not forget, an assemblage. Yeah. So let us see how. Urdhvam means upwards. Pranah, pranam, unnayati. Ut plus nayati. Nayati takes. Ut always means up, takes up. You know, how do we say in English? We say takes in, correct? You take in the breath, intake. But but Sanskrit is very poetic and literal at the same time. You don't really intake. When you breathe in, what happens? You breathe up actually. Yeah, because the lung sits up, the stomach comes out, everything is up. There is an upward movement. The prana, the energy goes up. So urdhvam pranam unnayati. You have to add a little yaha in the beginning of this verse, otherwise it makes no sense. Yaha means the one who. Yaha urdhvam pranam unnayati. The one who takes up this thing called prana. The breath that is taken in is called prana. Inhalation is called prana. And then, not content with that, what does this yaha do? The one who apanam pratyak means forth, asyati, throws out, vikshipati, throws out the old air, correct? And then takes in the new fresh air called prana, throws out the stale used air called apana. This is just what it means, the first line. This is just the first line, literally. So urdhvam, pranam, prana here is vayu. So it takes in the vayu. See, this is so funny. Outside what is there is called vayu. And as soon as you breathe in, it becomes prana. How? That's how. And as you are breathing out, it is apana. Once you breathe out, it becomes vayu again. Yeah. So this vayu, it intakes it and then it throws out. What is the it? Are we referring to the nostrils? Are we referring to the lungs? What are we referring to? Are we referring to the subtle operations of the body? But here again, that same metaphor of samhata and asamhata. Samhata put together for the sake of the one that is not put together ever comes in handy. So the respiration is not for the lungs' sake. Is it for the sake of the lungs? No. Is it for the sake of the nostrils? No. Is it for the sake of those tubes that connect the lungs to the nostrils? No. Is it for the sake of the blood? No. Not ultimately. Whose sake is the respiration for? For the sake of this body? Certainly not. For whose sake is this body respiring? Very interesting question. Yeah, somebody wanted more quizzes. So here is one. Very quizzical question. For whose sake is the body respiring?
For the indweller.
For the indweller. Who is dwelling in me? How do I know I'm in? Because I'm not out. That's the only reason. I'm not having an out-of-body experience. Therefore, I am in. Are you in? Yes, I am in. It's like, is the doctor in? Doctor is in. In the olden days, they used to have a sign. Doctor is in, doctor is out. So dweller is in, dweller is out. So dweller is in means indweller. For the sake of the indweller alone, this body respires and perspires. It is part of the HVAC system of this house. Yeah, we have a breathing house. And it's like this way, this is a breathing house, it's a ventilation, it's the AC of the thing to keep everything fresh and Fresh for whose sake? For the one who is staying. So that the one who is staying can have a comfortable existence. So it is all for the sake of the Atma. But the Atma, even though it has come and occupied this well-ventilated house, ventilation is the respiration, it does not need the ventilation in order to be alive. On the contrary, all respiration, all perspiration, all intake, all outtake, all double takes, everything happens in whose presence, for whose sake. Again, all these in and for, all these prepositions, we have to take it with a handful of salt, because nothing really fits in here. So the respiration is happening to keep this body well ventilated. For whose sake? For the sake of the Atma. But then if you go and ask the Atma, did you, want this kind of a body? What will it say? No, even without the body, I'm fine. You see, this is the magic. This is all magic. So in other words, what is happening when you respire? It is keeping this body alive. That is what it is. But it is not keeping Atma alive. This is what we have to understand. The respiration is giving the subtle body is giving the sthula body, what is sthula? Gross body, a certain new dimension which is different from this table. So if the table were fitted with prana and apana, it would also come alive and it would say, please don't bang on me like this. Yeah. So that is what the whole thing is. So if it is, the whole thing is like this. The body is what needs this ventilation. Otherwise, what would it be? Dead body. That's what it is. Body needs the ventilation. Body needs the cleansing in terms of the air coming in and going out. Otherwise, everything will just become toxic. And so the body needs all this respiration. For what? For the sake of the Atma. And again, for the sake of is within quotes. Just like someone says, I have made 108 laddus for the sake of Bhagavan. Have they made it for the sake of Bhagavan? No. They have made it for themselves and their friends who are coming for the potluck very soon after the puja. But it is all for the sake of Bhagavan. It's just an expression. Here also the expression, Puraswami, the Swami, the Lord of the city, for his sake, for its sake, everything is being done. Meaning, in its watch, all these activities are going on, but the Lord, the Puraswami, is not connected to any of these things. Very beautiful. So the respiration does not keep the I alive. Respiration is because I is. Because I am, if you want to be grammatical. Yeah, so I, bhati, respiration, anubhati. This is something very beautiful. I am, respiration is. I am the seer, the observer of the breathing. That's why we in meditation, we always observe, we spend little time observing the breathing. Then what happens? You see that you are separate from the breathing. But oh my God, I can't hold my breath. You don't have to hold your breath. But what if I stop breathing? It's okay. You don't stop breathing because you were never breathing in the first place. Yeah, you were the adhisthana of the breath, the truth of the breath, the content of the respiration. You yourself do not need to be respiring in order to be sentient. You are naturally Swarupa-wise sentient. You are already sentient. Oh, so I don't need to breathe? No. Okay. Breathing happens. Why? Because Atma is doing the breathing for you as though. That otherwise nobody will go to sleep. Everybody will be afraid. Because if breathing were a voluntary function, then there would be great angst. Constantly you would have to think, okay, did I inhale or did I exhale? What should I do now? Oh my God, I forgot to breathe. Oh my God, my nails are turning blue. Now I have to breathe quickly. That doesn't happen. Why? Because the prana and apana, the functions are going on. Why? The king is sitting there watching. Yeah. The king, not just the foreman or the supervisor on the floor, on the prana floor. Come on, take in, breathe out. No, not the one who's there with a stick, the king, whose mere presence is enough for the prana and apana to fall into place, as it were, to please that king, as though. Not really pleasing, but it's just a metaphor. And what about the other involuntary functions, digestion, excretion, all these things, circulation? All that happens for who? For this body. The waste is taken out of the body. Just like the garbage is taken out of the house. And then, garbage goes out of the house, waste goes out of the body, air is kept circulating, ventilation, respiration is this ventilation. Plus other forms of circulation are there, like the blood, etc. Digesting, assimilating, converting into nutrients. All this not for the sake of the body itself. Not for the sake of the body. So the prana makes this body alive. But one really doesn't live by prana alone. Yeah. One is not alive because of prana. One is alive because of that which monitors prana, or in whose presence, without really doing anything, the prana behaves. Even hyperventilation is a kind of the distress. Distressed breathing is also part of the whole situation. Very nice, beautiful. So, urdhvam pranam unnayati, apanam pratyagasyati. As to throw, fourth conjugation. Asyati, throws away all this old air. For who? Madhye vamanam asinam. Asinam. Asinaha means sitting. Sitting. Should be asan, but no, there is a sutra. For as, you put e dasah. So asinam. Paninian sutra is there. When you make a present, whatever that, shatru, shanach, you put e dasah. So asinam. For the sitting one, sitting duck. So for the one who is sitting where? Madhye. Right in the middle. Oh, can I dissect? No. But where is it in the meeting point of the Y of the dissection? No. This is not something physical. It is ati sukshma. Ati sukshma means what? Very subtle. How is it subtle? It is subtle because it is not available for objectification. It is not some kind of a wind-up toy here or something here sitting there. Hrit Pundarika She. Hrit Pundarika in the lotus heart. Akashe. Hrit Pundarika Akashe. In the space of the lotus of the heart. This is a spiritual heart, not the literal heart. Don't say which chamber, right chamber, left chamber, Don't go like that. In the heart of the matter here. In that heart. In the middle, right in the middle. Or you can take Buddha in the Buddhi, because where all the cognition of the breathing is taking place, where the cognition of the Jagat is taking place, where the cognition of this house, this casing, and the observation of all these systemic, functions are taking place, right there, Tishtati, Tishthan, Asina, Asinaha. What does, who is there? Vamanaha. Yeah, Vamanaha. Vamana means a small person, a dwarf. Because in the body you cannot stuff one big Sahasra Shirsha Purusha, all heads are one head, Sahasrakshas Sahasrapad, all feet are his feet. Sabhumim Vishwato Vritva, having occupied the entire earth, Atyatishtat Dashangulam, is also separated from that very thing. If you think of such a big thing, invading this body mind sense complex, it's terrible. It's like a zombie takeover or some huge, some kind of a horror sci-fi movie. That's not why it is. Always Angushta Matra Purusha, small. And Madhye Vamanaha. So this Vamana, sitting in the buddhi, in the form of alupta drik, in the form of the not sleeping consciousness, in the form of the consciousness that's always in attendance, in the form of that consciousness that is never absent, always present, always shining, in whose presence everything comes into light, and who is everything without being any one thing. This consciousness seated, for its sake the breathing is taking place. But if you go and ask it, did you ask this body to breathe? It will say no. The assemblage is for the one occupying this assemblage. The one that is occupying this assemblage is away from the assemblage. Madhye Vamanam Asinam. So like a god, like a big deity, it is sitting there, this Atma. All right, breathing is taking place. All right, digestion is taking place. Oh, too many fried foods. Okay, never mind. All right, circulation is taking place. This is the one who is in attendance of everything. And then Vishve Deva, all these beings, Vishve Deva, actually they are a kind of a group of devatas, but here it's used figuratively. I think there are 8 in number. But here Vishve Deva means the 5 sense organs. Upasate. They worship this thing seated in the buddhi. The eyes says, the pair of eyes, they say, wait, let us bring some choice sights and put it at your feet. That is our present to you. And the ears say, let us bring all the nice sounds of the universe and offer it at your feet. That is our present to you. And the sense of touch says, let us bring all the various textures. The cognition of the textures is because of who? Because of you. So that is offered back unto you. And the tongue can't wait to unleash itself and say, all the tastes that I can taste because of you is offered back to you because of whom I exist. So, and the nose says, let all the fragrances, like an attar shop, like a shop that sells the scents, like this, let me bring all the wonderful fragrances because of whom I am able to cognize the sounds, sights, smells, textures, tastes, because of whom, whose presence, unto you all this is dedicated. And it's easy to do that because Atma sitting there, this Vamana, which is not, not interested in having anything. It is completely virakta. It has complete vairagya from all this. It just sits and enjoys everything without taking anything. Otherwise, if it were to capture the sense of smell and say, no, you be my slave, it doesn't do that. It's everything is free, but then it's as it were, this is metaphoric, it's like when the spring comes, it's like some poets will say, the spring is as though worshipping Bhagavan with all the flowers. So here also there is an internal worship going on. Why the word Vamana also is called, is also reminiscent of another word, Vananiya. Vananam means to worship. Vananiyam. Vananiyam, vanoti, worships. So the one who worships is the most worshipful, this Vamana, this Bhagavan. Vishnu, who is all pervasive, is sitting here in this breathing, living body, is sitting and blessing this body with life. It's not the breathing that is keeping this body alive, even though you think that. You think that the body is kept alive by the breathing, and on one level it is true, but it's only on the empirical level that that is true. The breathing can keep you alive, keep the body alive, but what is keeping you alive? This Vamana, this most worshipful one, which is really, recognized in the buddhi. So therefore you can say located in the buddhi. That which has no location is as though located in the place where it's cognized. So in the place where it's cognized, what do you see? You see a big puja going on. All the sense organs are doing arati. They are, doing and they have made a mala of all the wonderful sights and sounds and smells and tastes, and they are putting the mala on. And they are doing arati. That without your light, our light is nothing in front of your light. We are offering this light of cognizing of sounds, etc., which is just local. The ear, which has the capacity to hear, it is powered by this Atma, because otherwise it would be like the dead pair of ears. It won't be hearing anything at all, correct? So, therefore, there is a big internal puja going on. And even the hands, the legs, and all the karmendriyas, not only the jnanendriyas, the sense organs, but the karmendriyas, they are also, it seems to be, they are raising their hands in worship, they are raising their hands as it were, because when you cognize this, there is nothing other than to worship, because the most worshipful thing, it's really you. And who is this you? Not this body, not this breathing, not the smells, not the sounds, not the sights. Not even for the one all this is being done, because this one doesn't want anything. It is that which impels everything to fall in place without itself being the doer or the experiencer of anything. This most worshipful one is occupying this body, which is allowing this body to breathe. And so too, Madhye Vamanam Asinam, to this most worshipful one that is sitting in the buddhi, only buddhi, because it is where it is recognized. Even in the self, that same worshipful one is there. But it is recognized, even the cellular intelligence is recognized in the buddhi alone. Therefore we say buddhi. So in this kushi, buddhi, it is sitting there and is, happily accepting the worship of all these things. And so what does it show? That the Atma is different from those which worship it. All these sense organs, all the breathing, all the physical and the subtle, the gross and the subtle mechanisms, it is completely different from that. And Adi Shankara in the Bhashya for this mantra says the following. He says, like a Raja and like the Vishas, Vishaha means the subjects, all the people, who are prajas, the people who are, what are they? Citizens of this kingdom, the citizenry, the people belonging to this kingdom, all of them worship the king. Why? Because the king a good king anyway, does not micromanage anything. Just the presence is enough for everything to go smoothly. Like even the ashram, when Pujya Swamiji is in presence, everything goes wonderfully. Nothing is happening, nothing wrong is taking place. Everything goes according to the seasons. All the four-footed, two-footed behaving like four-footed. Everything happens, wonderfully. And then what happens? When Swamiji leaves to go to the States or some other place, that's how it used to be. What happens? The next verse will tell us that. Very beautiful. So here, just the presence of this enlightened being in the form of this Atma is enough for everything to go smoothly. And then what? Asya visram samanasya sharirasthasya dehinah dehad vimucyamanasya किमत्र परिशिष्यते एतद्वै तत्. Yeah. So, asya visramsamanasya sharirasthasya dehinah dehad vimuchyamanasya kimatra parishishyate. So, this is like a rhetorical question. Kimatra parishishyate. What more is left of what? Asya, for this, visramsamanasya, for this slippery creature. Srams means to slip. How do we know? First chapter of the Gita. Gandivam sramsate hastat tvakchaiva paridahyate. Arjuna complains. Gandiva sramsate hastat. From the hasta, my bow called Gandiva is slipping away. Why? Due to perspiration of fear and sorrow, anxiety. So here also visramsama, srams, v plus srams plus, the one was shanach, and then v plus srams plus shanach plus sixth case. Visramsa manasya. So the one who is a slippery customer. Who is a slippery customer here? Huh? This Vamana, this most worshipful Atma, is the most slippery customer. Why? Because everything finite it occupies for a finite period, and then what? And then?
It's untouched.
And goes away from that, departs, and then that casing shell falls. Another thing it goes, occupies, and then deoccupies, and then finished, gone. So, visramsamanasya means for this one who is constantly occupying and deoccupying, mostly deoccupying. And to make that even more clear, so this slippery customer called Atma, asya visramsamanasya sharirasthasya sharire tishtati iti sharirastha. So, for the person who is living, the indweller of this body, who is what? Dehinaha, in the deha, in case you didn't understand. It's explained so clearly that you cannot make a mistake, okay? Asya visramsamanasya, it's all the same. Sharirasthasya dehinaha. So the one who is in the deha, dehin, and for that person, sharirasthasya, sharire tishtati, the one who is indwelling the body, and who is this, the most slippery creature. And in case you haven't followed that, dehad vimuchyamanasya, the one who is constantly being freed of every body. Not everybody, every body that it occupies, it is freed of the body immediately as soon as it occupies. Kimatra parishishyate. What else is left there to talk about this thing? This alone is that. Very nice, no? Yeah. So asya, for this, visramsamanasya, for this most slippery creature, this slippery customer, who is this Atma? And why is this Atma slippery creature? Because it slips in and out of various bodies. Yeah, because from where it stands, there is no in and out. Correct? Because space itself is itself alone. Time is Atma, space is Atma, so there is no in and out. So then it keeps slipping in and out of everything because it doesn't think I'm going in, I'm going out. I'm just, I'm hanging in, I'm hanging out, I'm just hanging. That's all. And then when it withdraws or when it vacates a particular body, what is the state of that body when the Atma vacates it? Oh my God, you can't even keep it in the house for 1 minute. Correct? Yeah. It starts to immediately decay. As soon as the Atma vacates, it doesn't wait for even 2 seconds. The body doesn't say, I think I'll enjoy a few more breaths without this tyrannical king, supposedly worshipful. Not for me. Thank God the Atma is gone. Now I can breathe easily. No. Breath also is gone. And then neither does the body say, I just had my last supper. Let me digest it and enjoy digesting it. No. The food remains in the stomach. In fact, after thousands of years, that's how they got the idea of this paleo diet, because they dissect the mummies and then they see in the stomach of the mummies ancient food that has become atrophied and what they used to eat, and then now they are trying to eat only that. I hope the fad only remains till then. I hope they don't, take on the other mannerisms of the Paleoliths. Anyway, so this is what it is. So the food is still there, undigested. In fact, after 5,000 years, if you find the body in the ice, they found one. They named him also, some person they found, and. They found the Igor or something, they named him. And then they found what he had eaten in the ice, somewhere in Siberia. They found what he had eaten, they found what he died of. No secrets this poor, dead man could have. 4,000, 5,000 years of what he wore, what he did, everything. Why he died so early. And, how he was impaled in this snowstorm, how he was, how it was preserved, why body was nicely preserved because a block of ice formed on it. All this they found out. How? But why? Because departed. Nothing is there. His food remained exactly as it is. And in fact, in order to solve any homicide case, they always say, when was the last meal ingested? Because the state of the digestion shows, how long ago the person was offed. And so they know exactly. So that shows what? The digestion also says, I'm done, let's pack up all the enzymes. So all the probiotics and enzymes, pack up and leave. Correct? And then what? What about the indriyas? They are not hearing all the gossip. Here is the dead body in the middle of the room, and the legatees, are they what is called? The ones who are getting the legacy, the legatees. Yeah, the legatees are all fighting. No, I get this much, I get that much. And the dead body doesn't hear and correct the assumptions. No, wait till my lawyer comes and reads the will, then you will know. All you ingrates, none of you is getting anything. I have left my fortune to a dog colony, So, some whimsical people do that. And in Singapore, there was one lady who left all her money to these two cats, Siamese cats. Nice looking cats. They all had, rubies and diamonds in their ears. Yeah, and a nice, diamond chain. Sitting there posing happily, washing themselves. And then she wanted the cats to be looked after, just two cats, and I think one butler and one cook for the cats. And the cats are to live in this mansion. All her money has gone to the cats. Just two of them. Yeah. So whimsical people. This is what it is. So it's like this. So, so when she died, she did not sort of say, oh, you ingrates, all my children are not getting money, I'm going to leave it to the cats. Why? Because no hearing is taking place, no talking is, So all the jnanendriyas have packed up and gone. As soon as Atma leaves, everything leaves. And then what? Karmendriyas also leave. That's why if you biff a dead body, it doesn't biff you back. Simple. Karmendriyas are not working. Jnanendriyas are not working. None of the pranas are also gone. None of the pranas, digestion, circulation, nothing is working. Everything has come to a standstill. That is what it is. And the body, the minute the Atma leaves, turns into a ghost town. Ghost town? Yeah. Where all that, what is that thing?
Tumbleweed.
Huh?
Tumbleweed.
Tumbleweed. This tumbleweed, that is the characteristic of the ghost town. Only that is going back and forth. All the streets deserted, all the shops boarded up, all the restaurants closed down, all the entertainment, movie theaters and other kind of play theaters, any kind of outdoor fairs and everything, shops, everything gone, packed up. Just the tumbleweed keeps tumbling back and forth. characteristic of a packed up ghost town. That is what it is when the Puraswami leaves, when that main, and he gives the example here, when the Raja leaves, everybody, the Raja here, king, when the king leaves, it is as it were, everyone becomes lackadaisical and goes on, goes behind closed doors and shuts themselves. Nobody wants to do any work because there is no appreciation, there is no fun, there is nothing is there. That whole inspiration and that which impels them to do whatever they need to do is not there. Adi Shankara says. And Adi Shankara also says it's almost like another explanation he gives is that it's like a ghost town. And what is the ghost town? It's like the Swami has left and the Praja has also left. Everyone has deemed this town, this Pura, not worth living. So, kimatra parishishyate, what is remaining here in this town? Don't say tumbleweed, because this is a rhetorical question. And in Sanskrit, the rhetorical question is called? Good question. This question is not rhetorical. It needs to be answered. Aksheparthe kim. Aksheparthe kim. Rhetorical question. It doesn't need to be answered. So that's how it is. When we were all in the ashram and Pujya Swamiji used to leave, it's almost like all the visitors would stop coming. All the fruits and all the goodies that used to come stop coming. And then what? It's like a ghost town. Everybody is just doing something, whatever. So when Swamiji comes back, it's like a big festival. Along with him, so many people come and so many things start to happen. This is all fantastic. So it's like that. So like even this Atma, when it leaves, nothing is worth staying for. All of the things which are all making the Atma, which are all for the sake of the Atma. And when the Atma leaves, they have no purpose. They have no purpose. So the body becomes a dead body. The ears become dead ears. Eyes become the unseeing eyes of the dead person. Everything dies. Why? Because that life-giving Vamana, the most worshipful, life-giving Atma is not there. So therefore, even this body does not survive by respiration alone. So it's not there. And the next mantra is going to say, na pranena na apanena, martyaha, jivati kaschana. It's not by respiration alone that the person survives. Anyena tu jivati. It's that the person survives by something entirely different. Yasmin etau upashritau, in which everything is, by which everything is sustained. Something else makes you alive. Something else makes the body-mind-sense complex, you means body-mind-sense complex, alive. But we are not going to go to the next mantra yet, because there is an alternative and a very beautiful interpretation for this mantra. Taken at a very metaphoric level. And what is that? Very nice. So, here, this mantra, what was this mantra? This mantra was about the slippery creature. The slippery creature has slipped away. And the slippery creature is described as the one who was the indweller of this body, the one who was the one who was the slippery creature, indweller of this body, the one who was the one who was subject to leaving this body. And after that person has left, what else is there to say? What else is left? Question mark. Here, an alternative and a metaphorical expression could be that this slippery creature is not the Atma at all. In the first rendition and the main rendition, it is the Atma. Here, the slippery creature is the Purva Pakshas. Did Swamiji talk about that? The slippery creature is the The slippery creature is the conglomerate body, the collective body of all the fears, resistances, upsets, and doubts, and the backtracking, and the alternative, useless, silly explanations. All these constitute the slippery creature. And the slippery creature is not slipping away at all here. And where is the slippery creature? The slippery creature has invaded, his Dehinaha, has invaded the body called the Shastra Deha. The body of the Shastra, this slippery creature has invaded, as it were. So nice, no? But then it is Dehad Vimuchya Manasya. It is the wrong arguments and the wrong, what is it called? The wrong, explanations. The explanations which don't agree with the body of the Shastra, and the explanations which don't honor the oneness, the Aikya that is given in the Upanishad. Where will they go? They have to go, because the Shastra is a unique and a whole body of knowledge. And if all these insurgents in the form of the Purva Pakshis, or another body called Purva Paksha, antibody, has gone into this body, it has to slip away. Dehad Vimuchya Manasya. How does it slip away? Through the constant Shravanam. It is worn away. The slippery creature is trying to get a hold into the Shastra, in the body of the Shastra, and cause a disease, cause an insurgency. It's trying to pollute the Shastra. But the Shastra is beyond pollution. It is infallible. It is there. And it is not going to be untainted, because the nature of the Shastra is the same as the nature of the Atma, because the Shastra expounds the Atma. So if the Purva Pakshis are trying to pollute the Atma and say Atma is finite, Atma is a rogi, Atma is a bhogi, Atma is this, Atma is that, Atma is as good as your two legs, Atma is also subject to death, Atma is not Bhagavan, Atma is separate from Bhagavan. All these arguments, when these arguments keep on being mounted against the Atma is not affected, and neither is the body of Shastra which elucidates, expounds the Atma, that is also not affected. And Dehad Vimuchya Manasya, it's going to slip away. After Shravanam, Mananam, it's going to slip away. After it slips away, Kimatra Parishishyate. What more resistance is there? What more fear is there? What more tear is there? Nothing to worry about. And slip away it will, because it really doesn't belong. So this is the culmination. This is the landfill of all the Purva Pakshas, just going away, and all there is this shining Atma. Even the Shastra goes away, all that is remains. Kimatra Parishishyate. What is remaining? The shining Atma alone remains. You have that in the note? Yeah, that was a very special moment. That's why I remember it. He doesn't explain it like this often, even though I have heard it. So, Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
So Kate did say she broke her.
Yeah, she broke. That's why it's taking so long. I don't know how she went.
So Jane, this is just observation.
Yeah.
The respiratory
Yes.
breathing.
Yes.
That it seems, I don't know if it's just in this culture or some phenomena that's happening now throughout the world, but for the past maybe 15 years or more,
Yeah.
there's been a lot of focus on
Breathing.
breathing,
Yes.
and in the medical field.
Yeah.
And we have things for asthmatics which help them to breathe. And now it seems more and more people are being diagnosed with this thing called sleep apnea.
Apnea, yes.
And I'm just kind of curious about all of this as to why it seems to be something that we're
Yeah.
focused on.
No, I don't know. I really don't know. I think that it might be just a fad like so many things. Diet and this and exercise, different kinds of exercise. And now the breathing, because they have recognized, because I think we are moving towards a little sukshma way of living. Little bit, in spite of all this, sthula, all the gross things that are happening, pun intended. So, so there is some level of understanding that the subtle mechanisms are coming into play. Maybe that's what it is. But I honestly don't know why this has taken such a fad. Even all the meditations which people find safe is there where you sit and count the breath and observe the breath. Because there is no Ishvara, there is no japa, there is nothing. You just sit and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Simple pranayama and you observe the breath. That people find, and that people find it calming, because the breath is connected to the circulation naturally. It's all prana. So then the blood pressure comes down, and then so they feel like they have their health in their hands. Like the yogis in the past, they were also obsessed with breathing, pranayama. Similarly, so it's a fad that has come back.
Ah,
Perhaps, I don't know.
The yogis have come back.
Yogis have come back. Or rather, bhogis are trying to become yogis. Perhaps. Who knows? Good point. Yeah, I hadn't
no,
thought
it's
of
just
that.
a curiosity.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. Any other questions?
This is nice though,
What?
this new being able to, it's much easier to see.
Oh, Sudha's father passed away? Okay. Yeah, I will keep her in the prayers. Yeah. Yeah, I will do that.
So 5 people watching now. That's all good.
They like that, okay. Good. Namo Namaha. Want to catch?